Welcome, everybody. Bunch formation after dark. I am Chris Vannini. He is David Ubben. We're going a little bit earlier right now just because there's not a lot of good or meaningful games on. Pitt just wrapped up a bizarre 42-28 win over Georgia Tech. David, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. I got Arizona State, Colorado on my TV in my office, and I've got BYU and Cincinnati on my computer. I will say, the After Dark show, Chris, getting ready for it because I watch all my games in the living room. Moving all of my crap back into the office, 2 laptops, TV is a task. So listen, you're welcome.
I still can't believe you're a 2 laptop guy. That remains very weird to me.
Listen, I get some side eyes when I pull out the second laptop in press boxes. I don't care. I'm sorry. This is how I roll. I've rolled this way for years. If it's a tight press box, I will be courteous to my neighbors and I will eschew the second laptop. Big 2 laptop guy. I will always be this way. I do it when I write. I do it when I work. If I'm watching stuff, like I'll have my.
What is the other laptop for? Do you not have like I have an iPad that I use as my second screen. Do you not have that?
No, I don't have
a tablet. It's a lot easier.
I had an Amazon Fire and I just had it to watch games, but I don't have it anymore. I don't really use it.
It's literally all I have it for is to watch games. And me and one of the guys from the Sickos committee were sitting together in the SMU press box, so I had it as our game thing. Welcome everybody into the show. Please leave comments. We'll react to them. We're going to kind of talk about the day's games for a little bit. We're not going to go too long on this after dark because we got a big show coming Monday, and so we're going to try to save a lot there. But let's start with the game we just watched.
ACC, David. Baby!
Pitt beats Georgia Tech 42-28. It was 28-0 in the first half at one point. Georgia Tech cuts it to 28-14 in the second half. They're inside the 5-yard line. Then a 100-yard pick six. Pitt takes it back to go back up 21. And then later in the fourth quarter, with about 7 minutes left, Pitt leading by 14. They fake a punt on 4th and 9. It goes nowhere. Georgia Tech turns it into a touchdown to make it a 7-point game, but Pitt breaks off a long run. They hold off for the win. Georgia Tech's path to the ACC championship game is now very tough. David, what'd you think of that game?
Is a 100-yard pick six the single worst play possible for win expectancy? It has to be, right?
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. I mean, you went from about to be down 7 to down 21.
Yeah. Listen, the ACC has been unpredictable, but Georgia Tech was probably the team I trusted most. That's a low bar, just because they seemed mostly consistent to the year until the weird BC stuff last week.
Two weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row now. Their defense has been putrid.
Yeah, but you can see it on Haynes King's face, late in that game, just the frustration. I'm sure everybody's feeling it. The ACC's still pretty open. Virginia, who we don't trust, is still in there. SMU can win. SMU's winning, they're in right next week.
SMU, if they win at Cal next week, SMU, where I was down at the game today, if they beat Cal next week, they're in. I think Virginia is winning.
I believe they're in with a win against Virginia
Tech. And if one of them loses, Pitt can get in if Pitt wins. If Pitt beats Miami. If both SMU and Virginia lose and Miami beats Pitt, then I think it's Miami. And if they all lose or something, unless Duke wins, I think Duke is actually technically not out of it for some reason, even though they're 6-5. Sure. So a lot of potential chaos, but also a lot of potential simplicity. And I will say, I tweeted, I was at the SMU Louisville game today. SMU wins 38-6. Louisville was without some of its best offensive players. But I said during the game, I think SMU and Miami have a good case as the 2 best teams in the ACC, and neither of them might play in the ACC championship game. Yeah. Now, that has since changed. Now SMU can win and in, but I think SMU's been playing really well. I don't think anybody wants to face them at the moment. But
the ACC should get rid of the tiebreakers and just go to like a vibes-based system. Like, who are we feeling at the end of the season? We'll throw you in there. Georgia Tech, your vibes have been off for a couple weeks. I'm sorry, you're going to have to go sit down. But Miami's been playing well. SMU, solid vibes. Get him in there.
So, speaking of ACC, SSS Cha says in the chat, Miami to the playoff ? seems like they need chaos in the ACC, or Utah BYU to drop another game. So we did have Utah barely escape Kansas State, come back and win 51-47 in one of the strangest games of the whole season. I swear, like one of the most bizarre. You look back at it and you're wondering how that happened. It's possible Miami jumps ahead of Utah just because of Utah's performance, but Utah is between Miami and Notre Dame. Like that is what we're looking for right now. The teams that are ahead of Miami but behind Notre Dame, if they start to fall off, Miami gets closer, and then it's more likely that they are then compared in the same pool, and Miami can jump Notre Dame. But Notre Dame went out and beat Syracuse 70-7. It was up 21-0 before the offense took the field today. So Notre
on
Dame,
Saturday, baby. We warned people coming in.
so Notre Dame played pretty well. I mean, I already have Miami over Utah. Utah just doesn't have a lot of good stuff on the resume, really. So I'm very, very curious. You know, Miami beat Virginia Tech by 17, 34-17, but they scored a touchdown with like 10 seconds left to make it that. Otherwise, it was a 10-point game. So not an overall, like, it wasn't an overall, like, stamp of a performance by Miami that you had gotten the previous weeks, but they do have a blowout win over Syracuse on their resume.
Yeah.
Not 70-7, but a lopsided loss. So I'm not sure. I still don't know what it's going to mean for Miami Notre Dame, but ACC wise, like who do you like in the ACC right now? Like, is there a team that you think is the best? Is there a team you think of all the teams left, who has the chance to actually like win a playoff game?
Miami's the best team, but they're just all over the place. And obviously the game management issues we've been talking about for basically since Mario Cristobal got to Miami, they show up with relative frequency. So in a tight game, obviously you don't trust them, but you watch them. I mean, if you obviously we saw it with Notre Dame last week. You throw Pitt against a legit top 10 team. You know, I don't like that. But like Miami, other than like maybe like Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, like Miami can play with and probably beat anyone. Of course, if you were ranking teams in the playoff field that were most likely to lose to like USF or Tulane, I think Miami would be the top of that list too. So
Yeah.
You know, but I would say Miami. But I think SMU could make a little bit of noise. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of that is predicated upon a healthy Kevin Jennings. They haven't been that consistent this year. You know, 3 losses is 3 losses, but they have played better in the last month than they did the first month of the season, where they were kind of an afterthought.
I mean, SMU is really 2 plays away from being 10-1 and like clearly in the top 10. They miss a game-winning kick against Baylor. They blow a 14-point lead in the final few minutes. They should have won that game. And then they lose to Wake Forest on like a 50-yard walk-off field goal when they were up by 1. So
didn't that kick hit the stanchion too? Or am I remembering another game?
It was the closest possible kick you could make, basically, without dinging off the upright. So like they are right there.
Yeah.
And Kevin Jennings is much healthier now, coming off of a bye week. This team has figured it out, and credit to Rhett Lashlee. Like, they are really good in November now. Like, when Sonny Dykes was there, that team would always collapse down the stretch. And under Lashlee now, 3 years, they've gotten better every single year as the year goes on. And so now this is 3 years in a row where they will go into the final weekend of the regular season playing to be in a conference championship game. And if SMU makes the ACC title game 2 years in a row, joining the league, that's like
pretty impressive.
Really impressive.
That's what you pay. What is the final figure? 90 million. That's what you pay 90 million for. Is it 70 million?
In terms of the TV money they're giving up, something
6 years,
like
15 million, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So that's the ACC kind of madness situation. Let's go to the biggest game of the day. Oregon 42, USC 27. USC's playoff hopes are now gone. That is their third loss. Oregon in a much better position now. They got a big notable win. They will move up in my rankings now after I had them at number 11. If they beat Washington next week, they're in the playoff. Not totally sure if they lose to Washington. So it's still a big, big game. But what'd you make of that game?
I don't think it's fair necessarily to say that all the things that we've seen from USC this season, the toughness of beating Iowa and beating Michigan and that kind of stuff is undone by the Oregon loss. But Oregon pushed them around today. They couldn't get stops. They couldn't run the ball. And it felt a little bit like the lowest points of the Lincoln Riley era where, you're watching that game and it's like still competitive. They're still in it, but you're just watching it and you're like, it's going to take a miracle or some catastrophic turnover for USC to really have a chance to actually win this game. And then obviously they never got it. And so I think it's tough. And I think, you watch USC this year and you don't see a world beater, but I still think in the 30,000 foot view of the Lincoln Riley era, it's weird that we're, what is this, year 4?
Yep.
And they still haven't really had a team that's come anywhere close to what we thought he was capable of there. You look at Miami last year. That's probably one of the 8 best teams in the country, and they just didn't make the playoff because they screwed up down the end. USC hasn't had one of those teams where it's like, oh, they're good enough, but they just couldn't get it done. They haven't been close to good enough at any point.
I mean, his first team was 1 win away from going to the playoff, but they lost that championship game.
But they didn't get there, and they lose to Utah by like 30 in the Big Pac-12 championship.
Twice. I think it was the year they lost twice to Utah. But this was a game. So like Oregon in this game has a punt return touchdown, and there was a leaping penalty on an Oregon field goal that gives Oregon
return,
a
by the way,
down.
nobody touched Malik Benson. He just kind of waltzed through. It's like, what are you doing?
Some of I definitely outkicked the coverage, but also some of the worst coverage you'll ever see. He just kind of went left and just rolled in. It was not very difficult to go 85
This is one of the reasons why we talk about this sometimes, Chris. Like, watching a game in person is such a better experience. I mean, I want the all 22, not from like a film nerd perspective. It just tells you more about what's happening, and you can understand like what the quarterback's seeing and everything. And watching that play, I just kept waiting for him to hit a wall or have to slow down or cut back for defenders. And he just kept going. And I'm like, is there nobody home? What's happening here?
Yeah.
That was the play that highlighted how much like the TV watching experience is not ideal if you want to try to understand ball and what's actually happening on the field.
To your point, it was a very sloppy game, especially from USC. You have 2 turnovers, 2 interceptions. You have the things I just mentioned there with the punt return touchdown, the leaping penalty. Both of these teams had over 100 yards of penalties. There was that one stretch, I think it was on that leaping drive, where there were like 5 personal fouls in like a span of like 8 snaps. There was like unsportsmanlike. There was hands to the face. There was the leaping. Like it was ugly there in the middle for a bit. But ultimately, Oregon, rushed for 4.5 yards per carry, 22 for 30 passing. Like they were efficient, 7 for 12 on third down. They played solid, and then USC just really didn't. USC couldn't run the ball, 1.9 yards per carry, less than 50% on third down. Did convert 2 fourth downs, but just it was a close game for a while, and it didn't feel like it should be. And then eventually Oregon was able to do enough to pull away. So Oregon, we know that they'll be in the field if they win out. What do you think of them overall this year? Because like the advanced stats like love Oregon, like top 5 team or something like that. But they hadn't done anything notable on the resume coming into this game. We needed to see it here, and we pretty much did. Like,
we don't need to hit on the Penn State stuff again. But like, I think when you watch, there's been no point when I've watched Oregon this year, and I've been like, this is not a serious team,
right?
In terms of a team that can probably go toe to toe with just about anybody, and that I think is telling. So. It's a little bit like the Notre Dame thing where it's like you can recognize that the resume is not great. And if you want to sort of look side-eye at them, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you. But when I turn the TV on and I watch them, Oregon looks a lot like Notre Dame. And it's like, this is clearly one of the best teams.
You know what helps? Having Kenyon Sadiq back. That dude.
Yeah, that touchdown catch, like where they were trying to take his head off. I mean, the dude can play. Like, Dante Moore has kind of been a little up and down, but when he's got all his weapons, they didn't have DeCorian Moore today, did they? I don't think.
No. Kenyon
Yeah.
Sadiq, six catches, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yep.
Yeah, so they probably don't have a chance to get 2 weeks off. Well, no, because they're not going to play they're probably not going to play for the Big Ten, right? So they will have 2 weeks off.
Yeah,
so they'll play rivalry week, and then they'll probably play. Well, they have 3 weeks off, probably, right? They'll play the week of the 20th. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know if Michigan beats Ohio State. I don't know what those tiebreakers are relative to Oregon and Michigan.
Well, Michigan can't beat Ohio State, Chris. Clearly, right? There's no way.
Clearly. So, like, I'm with you on Oregon. Like, I've all year long, I've like I think they're a pretty good team. And like you said, they haven't had any dud performances. They score 1 touchdown in like 7 red zone trips at Iowa. Like they could just finish some drives and not be quite so sloppy. They'd be, some of those things would be more comfortable. So you needed to have this win. It's a good win. I don't know if 10-2 gets you in because it depends what happens elsewhere. Because like Vanderbilt today blows out Kentucky 45-17. So we got Vanderbilt going to Tennessee next week.
I'll be there for that.
Ranked game. You'll be there. It's not going to necessarily be winning you're in if you're Vanderbilt, but like win and you've got a shot.
Dude, if they win and they're 10-2 in the SEC and they don't get in, come on now. I'm just very skeptical that is going to be a thing that happens.
Who are they're going to have to jump teams is what I'm saying. Like you could have Utah and BYU, Alabama's
going on the road and beating will Tennessee be in the top 15? I mean, probably not, right? They'll be like 18, something like that.
Yeah.
Going on the road and beating a top 20 team can help you jump people.
Yeah, it does. But if Miami beats Pitt, you're not jumping them. Probably.
Why not?
Utah and BYU's only got 1 loss. Mm-hmm. Alabama, if they beat Auburn, they're in the SEC championship game. Notre Dame's not going to lose. Like we're running out. There is a scenario where we just simply run out of spots. And 10-2 for anybody is not going to be a guarantee. And so I think that's where it gets really interesting. So if Oregon takes care of business against Washington, you're good. And I think I like your chances of doing that. But I wouldn't say you're in yet. Speaking of a 10-2 team,
Malik Brown to the house. Well, maybe
we got Colorado, Arizona State. Colorado got a big play. They got near the red zone, then immediately fumbled the ball, and Arizona State immediately turns that into like a 70-yard touchdown run. So they are.
It's been nice to see. Like Arizona State's had some nice second acts. Like Jordan Dice, obviously the top of that list, but Malik Brown is really has had obviously a really nice run. They're gonna go solid for them.
They're gonna go 8-3 despite all the injuries they've had. Like Kenny Dillingham is,
and I think too, like with Arizona State, like people forget that first year, nobody was paying attention to them, but they were down to like their 5th quarterback at one point. Like it was a nightmare the first year, and there wasn't a lot of expectation on Kenny Dillingham. People didn't really know them. And they were just trying to stay alive that first year. They had so many injuries, and obviously last year had a playoff year. But this year, to be hit with so many injuries, Hines Ward getting some screen time. People forget he's their receivers coach, by the way.
I spent a day with him. I spent a day with Hines Ward when he was an XFL coach with the San Antonio Brahmas.
We've both done an alarmingly high amount of XFL content in our careers.
So, by the way, if you're new to the show, if you're watching, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching there, please subscribe to the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. We do the show every week, Monday, Thursday. Then we have some extra live shows we throw in the feed. We're live tonight. Don't know anything about next week yet, other than we got a big show on Monday, so stay tuned. But SSS Cha says Vanderbilt's problem will be the lack of good wins. Tennessee would be their best win, and that would be a 4-loss team. And that is true because the LSU win, not great. By the way, LSU currently up 13-3 on Western Kentucky with 4 minutes left.
And that might be CUSA champion Western Kentucky you're talking about.
Yeah, you got the win over Missouri, which is like solid, but also Bo Pribula got hurt in that game, and Missouri's not going to be ranked anymore.
Yeah,
and like South Carolina wasn't what you thought. Virginia Tech's nothing. Like there aren't many good wins for Vanderbilt, and frankly, I remain very surprised that the committee put Texas behind Vanderbilt, because Texas has 3 losses, but one of those wins was over Vanderbilt. And the only difference between Texas and Vandy really is that Texas went and played number 1 Ohio State in the first week of the season.
Well, Texas also has a win over Oklahoma. That's pretty good.
Right. Texas has good wins. But I'm saying, like, if Texas was 9-2 and instead of Ohio State, they played Ohio, like, they'd probably be ranked ahead of Vanderbilt. And that is the problem I have. Like, Vanderbilt and Texas were 3 spots apart, by the way, closer than Notre Dame Miami was. Everybody talks about Miami Notre Dame, but both Texas and Vanderbilt should have a case. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because here's this. I'm going to be at Texas A&M next Friday night. And if Texas wins that game and Vanderbilt beats Tennessee, does Texas still jump Vanderbilt? This is what I'm saying. Like, there's a pretty good case to be made for 3-loss Texas. So, this last weekend of the season is going to be awesome.
A lot on the line. I mean, the Heisman's wide open. There's still playoff spots up for grab. There's
Lane Kiffin's announcement is going to come at some point. About what he's going to do.
I will say, Chris, can I connect some dots on the? There's not a lot to say on the Lane Kiffin thing. I don't really want to devote that much time to it. But can I connect some dots? Okay. Nick Saban has turned into Lane Kiffin's staunchest defender a decade after firing him for this exact thing.
Yeah.
Ole Miss plays on Friday next week, Chris. Announcement coming after the bye. It makes a lot of sense for Lane Kiffin to do like a wrestling promo on College Game Day.
Yes, it does. Morning. And you noticed on College Game Day on Saturday that everybody was lamenting how tough it is for Lane Kiffin.
It's like, dude, come on.
It's the calendar's fault. He's in a really tough spot to think about leaving a top 6 team that can win the national championship. Give me a break. Nobody feels bad for Lane Kiffin in this. And it's the same thing we talked about with James Franklin when James Franklin went on that show. And it was all poor James Franklin. Oh, they treated him terribly. Poor James Franklin. You know what? James Franklin has the same agent as Nick Saban and several other people on that show. You know who else has the same agent as Nick Saban? Lane Kiffin. So, like, it's very, like, if they do that, if Lane holds his announcement for College Game Day, I think you will see a public backlash against Game Day a bit. For turning it into a LeBron like the decision.
Maybe, but I think there was. I mean, I guess it's a debate, but I feel like the ratings would be worth it in their eyes.
Well, yeah.
Maybe that's short-term gains for long-term losses, but
the ratings for the decision were very good too.
Yeah, but I know, but LeBron kind of outran it. I mean, listen. I also think. Did you see Tom Brenneman tonight? Also on the, I saw this clip went viral on the Clemson Furman game that he was like ripping Lane, and it was like I forget. It was like way over.
Oh, I didn't. I need to look this up.
It was basically like I need to get the exact quote, but it was weird. Anyway. He said a lot of the. Here we go. It's like they talked about it for like 4 minutes, which is weird on a Clemson Furman game. But
what else are you going to talk about in a Clemson Furman game?
A lot of people thought these days of Lane Kiffin were behind him. All the drama, his reputation would be tarnished, unfortunately, forever. Dude, if you win,
he's right.
No one cares.
He's right.
No, he's not. If you
win,
no one cares.
What do you mean?
No one cares. If you go to LSU and win a national championship, no one cares. Nick Saban, when he left the Dolphins, that was really crappy. Like, straight up lying and then leaving. Guess what? Nobody cares because you won at your next stop.
Nick Saban won 6 national championships. I mean, if
I'm
Lane
not saying
Kiffin
you got
goes on to do that, sure.
I'm saying what you actually do at your next stop matters a whole lot more than how you leave.
You say you didn't want to talk. Well, we'll talk more Lane on the Monday show. Anyway, we'll save it for then. I just say we completely disagree on this point. Some other games. Oklahoma 17, Missouri 6. Wasn't pretty again.
Oh God! But Oklahoma is low key Iowa. Bob Stoops has to be loving it when he's watching from the box.
Oklahoma has LSU at home next week. The same LSU that can barely beat Western Kentucky. If Oklahoma wins that game, they are going to the playoff because they are currently number 8. They're not down like Vanderbilt. If they win, they're a 10-2 team that is going to be in. So that is going to be very interesting. This was not
make America watch them. Oklahoma is a really they don't run the ball. John Mateer doesn't particularly throw the ball well. It's kind of like it's worse than I thought it would be, because when they first got John Mateer, I was like, their whole offense is going to be him running around and figuring some stuff out. That's offense. The defense, to its credit, not quite as good as we thought like to start the season, but still probably a top 10 unit in the country, I'd say, somewhere.
It's a
in
top
that
5 defense.
realm.
Yeah, it's still
it's. I was just trying to be generous. Top 5, I'll listen to, but people were talking about them like generational when start the season, which is not.
Yeah, no. Touchdown Cincinnati. They've cut it to a 1-score game with BYU. Gonna cut it to 6. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't love Oklahoma's chances of necessarily winning a playoff game, but with that schedule they've played,
depends on the matchup.
Best part of this game, by the way, Dr. Shin, the surgeon who did the surgery on John Mateer, was there at the game for some reason and was seen on video doing a horns down. So gotta love college football. All right, we talked about Miami, we talked about Notre Dame, we've talked about Vanderbilt, Kentucky. Well, one thing on Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Diego Pavia was just insane. 33 for 39, 484 passing yards, 6 total touchdowns, 48 rushing yards. So he was over 500 total yards. And he's begging Clark Lee at the end to go back into the game. And Clark Lee's like smiling and trying to tell him no. And he did get to go back in the game. I don't know if it was for a certain milestone or what, but that was pretty funny.
Do you think, Chris, that there is a world in which Diego Pavia goes for like 350 and a buck on the ground next week and gets, it feels like it's going to be hard for him to climb up the Heisman ladder. To me, I feel like every spot on my ballot is up for grabs because nobody has stood out.
Yep.
And if you are the quarterback of a 10-win Vanderbilt team and you put up the kind of numbers he's putting up this year and are so integral to what they have done, it seems crazy that you wouldn't be in the Heisman conversation. But with so many big games around him, obviously Ohio State's got a bunch, Indiana's got a bunch. There's a lot of guys that are going to play a bunch of really meaningful football games next week, and unfortunately for Vanderbilt, the week after. I don't know if he can get there, but this is going to be a year where there's going to be a lot of really defensible Heisman ballots, I think, because there is no standout. Like if somebody put Diego Pavia number 1 for all the reasons that I laid out, if he doesn't have to go for 300 and 100, but like leads him to a win and is really good, how can you argue with that?
By the way, Jeremiah Love also ran for like 170 yards.
I think Love is the only guy that I'm like confident is going to be on my ballot. Everyone else I could see going in and out.
It's so hard because you only get 3 spots for people who don't know. Like it's not 5, it's not 10. You get 3 spots on your Heisman ballot. We're both voters. And like if Mendoza and Sayin and Love are in there, like say Julian Sayin has a great 2 games, like he'll be in there probably. Yeah. Jeremiah Love, like where do you then fit Diego Pavia? Like it's
what I don't want to happen is, we get to my least favorite thing that happens in the Heisman is quarterback of the best team. And like, if Julian Sayin if they do beat Michigan the next couple of weeks, and he's like 17 of 20 for 210 and 2 touchdowns, and they win like 17-13.
Well, no, that's not.
But that's going to happen, Chris. There's going to be a lot of people who do that. And it's just kind of like that, come on. Like,
but then you also got to see what he does against Indiana. Speaking of Michigan, by the way, they beat Maryland 45-20, took care of business. Look, I don't think Michigan's very good, but they are now sitting here where if they beat Ohio State next week, then they've got a really, really good shot of making the playoff at 10-2. That's another team that could potentially jump Vanderbilt, maybe, if you beat the number 1 undefeated team in the country.
Nobody's really been talking about them because they do have the Ohio State hurdle at the end, but naturally they can't win that game.
I don't know if Michigan would go to the Big Ten championship game or not. So if they do, it's a whole separate thing. But like, what if Texas beats Texas A&M and Michigan beats Ohio State? And Vanderbilt beat. Like, I don't know. Like that's why it's so much fun. Like there's so many things that can happen in this final weekend, which will be a lot of fun.
And this is part of the 12-team playoff. And I think too, like, because there are so many levels to this, and I did like getting rid of the auto bids for the auto buys.
I did
because it does add a lot of value in Well, you want to win every game you can because there's a huge advantage of, hey, we're not playing that first weekend. That's one level. Hey, we're hosting that first weekend. That's another level. Versus just getting in. Like, I do like the 3 levels of like 1 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12.
Yeah. A note here by Nick Flynn. This could become the first year ending in a 5 where a Heisman is not won by a running back. I saw that graphic.
We'll see.
It's like 2015, 05, 95, Eddie George, 85, 70. It goes all the way back. Like every year with a 5 is a running back, which is kind of crazy. G5 corner here. Tulane handled Temple 37-13. UTSA destroyed East Carolina.
The Navi, baby.
24. East Carolina was favored in that game, and we both said no. UTSA is not losing at home, and they very much.
I've watched
did not.
ECU, and I understand the connection that UTSA has with the Alamo Dome.
Yeah,
infamously. Is that 25-0 under Jeff Traylor now in American play?
Like, we didn't actually pick. I regretted not picking that in my wild card picks. But North Texas also beat Rice 56-24. So we've got Tulane, North Texas, and Navy, all with 1 loss. North Texas has beaten Navy. I think if they all win out, if they win their last game, the American has a tiebreaker where if there's multi-teams tied, if there's a team ranked in the CFP, the highest ranked CFP team in the conference, if they win their last game, they are in. So if Tulane wins, I think Charlotte, if they win their last game next week, they are in the American Championship game. And then if you've got North Texas Navy, I don't know who Navy's got Memphis on Thanksgiving night. I don't remember who North Texas plays.
Really?
But just
I don't
if
think
they win,
I didn't realize they're playing on Thanksgiving night. Okay,
it's the only college football game on Thanksgiving now. They did the last 2 years they've done an American game. It was Tulane Memphis last year too.
I do remember that
because like the Ag Bowl is no longer on Thanksgiving, and they've moved Texas A&M to Black Friday, so it's that. But if Tulane's in and then a head-to-head North Texas Navy, I'm pretty sure it's just North Texas because they beat Navy. So it may get a bit simpler there. And then James Madison beat Washington State 24.
They were down most of that game. I was watching. Not what you need if you're James Madison. Again, I said it on Thursday's show. I think it's true. No amount of style points is going to do them any good. You just need American carnage. Like they needed some today. They need some next week. They need they need some in the championship game. They need everything they can get. Just a bunch of dogs winning. But not a great look from James Madison.
They beat Washington State by more than Ole Miss and Virginia did. So
true.
That.
True.
We got a question. I'll save this for the Monday show, but we had a good email question. Basically, how do the logistics work when you and I travel to a game? Like, how does that work? Do we pick the game, hotel? So we'll talk about that on the Monday show because I like that question.
Do people care about this? I guess they do. I don't know.
Good point here, by the way, by MZ. North Texas beat Washington State 59-10. That's another good comparison. That was the first game
where I was like, "Oh, we should be paying attention to North Texas."
Yeah, because Washington State had like 8 turnovers in that game or something like that. It was kind of crazy. But that's a great point. It's a great point, MZ, because I have had Tulane and North Texas and Navy all ahead of James Madison, and the polls haven't. The polls have had JMUSC as the highest ranked group of 5. I don't know why ESPN's analytics continue to give James Madison like by far the best chance of making the playoff of like high 40s. And then I think North Texas is like low 40s and Tulane is like 12%. I don't fully get the math on that. I know James Madison theoretically has an easier path, but
the polls I understand because pollsters and loss totals, it is what it is.
But to that point, how many people who are ranking James Madison in North Texas and considering, how many of them remember North Texas beat Washington State 59-10? They don't. We do.
Yeah.
And that I will continue to have North Texas ahead. And I'm going to have to explain this on Sunday when the poll comes out. And you could have, that's why it's.
This is one of the reasons why, like, I don't have a lot of beef with the polls. The polls are the best version of a flawed concept.
Yeah.
But like Chris, when you look at the top 20, the AP top 25, how many like national or regional media even vote on it? It's probably less than a quarter, right? Of the 60
I'm not
something
sure.
voters. Most of them cover one team, and you don't have a chance to really watch everyone. So it's not even it's when we talk about this stuff, it's not even a criticism of pollsters necessarily, because it's just like you're not getting paid to do that. It's not really your job.
No,
you
and
take
you
the
have to
responsibility.
and you have to return it in by like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's one of the reasons
hard.
why I don't get that fired up about the polls in general. But it's why there is some flaws like that, because the vast majority of the pollsters cover one team, and it's hard to see everything, every week.
So that's G5. Also, UNLV beat Hawaii 38-10. UNLV still very much in the race there to get to the Mountain West Championship game. There's still a bunch of 2-loss teams behind San Diego State, but good, solid performance by UNLV.
My two takeaways from that game were impressive from UNLV's defense. That might be their best game of the year. They took a lot of the fun out of that game, because I did watch a little of the first half before I fell asleep. And I was worried about your guy, Tokyo Tell, missing a kick, but he stayed perfect. 24-24, baby.
Kansei Matsuzawa, best kicker in the country right now. Got a story on him on The Athletic. Check it out.
Let's not besmirch Tate Sendell on the pod, Chris. Let's not do that.
Real quick, Duke, North Carolina. Duke was up 24-10. UNC came back, made it 25-24. Then Duke,
impressive rally,
down by 1.
It's crazy.
In the fourth quarter, fourth down, fakes a field goal.
Crazy decision. Weirder call.
Eat your heart out, Pat Narduzzi. Gets all the way down to like the 1-yard line. They score a touchdown. They win. North Carolina.
My favorite thing about the fake, Chris, is so when you see a pitch to a kicker, it's usually to the holder's side. I guess they can get a running start and get around the corner faster. It depends on what your kicker is. But they pitched it to the kicker's side, so when he catches it, he has no momentum. So you better get this call right a little bit, not as much as you would if he's, like the infamous Les Miles, like over the head toss like that. But so it's a weird call in the situation to fake it. I don't remember the last time I've seen a fake field goal. Sometimes they'll snap it to the kicker, which I don't mind, but that delay, like 2 North Carolina guys are diving after the kick that doesn't happen there. And so that basically is what allowed him to get out there. Crazy decision, crazy call, weird choice of a fake, like execution-wise, but you can't run it any more perfectly than Duke did. It worked. They win the game. North Carolina didn't really do much on their last drive.
Duke is bowl eligible. North Carolina is 4-7. Technically not out of a bowl, because I think they are like the highest APR.
Our guy Scott Doctorman, we should call him like our bowl doctor or something. Like Scott digs into all of this stuff, the minutia of it. And so my understanding is it is unlikely, because it looks like all the bowl spots will be filled. But in the event that they are not, North Carolina is basically third in line if those spots aren't filled, because the first 2 would go to Missouri State and or Delaware if they can get to winning record. Delaware's got to get to a winning record.
Yes.
But they'll take up the first 2 spots. But North Carolina, with a new coach, is first in APR. In the portal, in the NIL portal era, I don't know how we're calculating APR. I also don't know how a first-year coach that just cleaned out the roster has the highest APR score in the country. I have no idea how that's possible. That's what I'm told.
So, hot seat watch. Iowa beats Michigan State 20-17. Michigan State led 17-7 in the fourth quarter. Iowa comes back to tie it. Michigan State's trying to drive for the win. They call a timeout at midfield before a 3rd and 2. They run the ball. It's short or something like that. And they stop the clock. And I immediately was like, no, that's a terrible timeout. What are you doing? And 3rd down's incomplete. They punt. Iowa's got almost a whole minute. They drive down, kick a field goal, and win. So Jonathan Smith's winless in the Big Ten this year.
Sheesh.
They've lost 7 in a row. They're 4-7. I keep thinking he's going to stay, and I think the NCAA penalties are more of a reason to keep him, because it makes your job tougher. But they haven't straight up come out and said it, and I feel like Michigan State maybe has wanted to pull a Wisconsin or Maryland and just say we're keeping this guy, but they've been waiting for a win to do it, and they keep not winning. I mean, that's just me theorizing it, because I feel like at this point, you have to make a decision. You cannot go into the last week of the regular season and still not have made up your mind. You have to figure it out one way or another.
Can I devil's advocate a little bit here?
Sure.
In terms of the keeping.
Well, I mean, no, wait, hold on. there's reasons to keep him. Like I'm not against that. I'm
well,
just
no,
saying,
I'm not saying that they should. I'm not
yeah.
saying that they should, but I'm saying if you get scared off by this market, if you're Michigan State, first of all, I think it's a really good job. I think the NCAA penalties are doable. And wouldn't they be the second best job in the Big Ten? Am I forgetting someone?
I mean, Big Ten jobs are Penn State, UCLA, would be Michigan State. So
Yeah.
probably, but UCLA is like done with their search almost. Like they're pretty
Yeah.
close to wrapping up. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if one way or another on Sunday you get an answer, because I don't understand taking it to the end of the season. One school that did say it was going to take it to the end of the season, Florida State, which lost 21-11 to NC State on Friday night, and one of the just dumbest ways you can see a team not lose. They muffed 2 punts in a row in the fourth quarter.
No,
one of
Chris.
which, hold on,
no.
that's technically what it is. But the first one just it's punted, it's short, it ricochets off a lineman's helmet all the way back to the line of scrimmage, is recovered by the punter.
The punter.
And then
Chris, I am confident that maybe in the last 25, I would like to know the last time a punter recovered his own muffed punt. Is there a possibility it has never happened?
I've seen on a muff, probably not. On a fumbled return, yes, I've seen that.
Yes, fumbled return, but
a muff is like impossible.
Well, Florida State, with the Seminoles, anything's possible.
So they muff 2 punts, one of them leads to a touchdown. They miss 2 field goals, and you lose by 10. Like that's one of the most like. That's the game right there. And it's just like, it's the same thing. And they feel so, Florida State fans feel hopeless. And I know that. And they need to be.
They shouldn't. They should not feel hopeless. Hold
on. Well, in terms of Norvell, Florida State has said they're going to wait till the end of the season. And they are now 5-6. You have to beat Florida to get to a bowl game. Kind of like Michigan State. I don't know if one result or another is going to make a difference. Like if they had won 3 of their last 4 to get to 7-5, I thought I would have said, all right, Mike Norvell's safe. Now the best they can do is 6-6. And I don't know if that's enough. His buyout is like $59 million. And yes, there is offset, but he's not going to get paid like he's not going to get a Power 4 job and then get paid like one to completely offset it the way James Franklin did. So it is a lot of money for them. The same goes for Michigan State with Jonathan Smith, whose buyout is like 30-something million. They don't have the money either. So you have these 2 schools that really, really, really don't want to have to fire their coach. And their coaches keep giving them every single reason to fire them in the second half of the season here. So those are the 2 I'm keeping an eye on tomorrow morning. David, what do you want to say?
Bright side for the Florida State fans. Tweet from David Hale, friend of the show at ESPN. The only teams who have outgained their opponents by 40 yards or more in all but one game this year: Indiana, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Oregon, and Florida State. The Seminoles have done some ridiculously terrible stuff. The turnovers have been an issue all year, but they did beat Alabama. Like, if you watch that game, weird or not, like, that game was not a fluke. Like, they beat Alabama. And so, as bad as this season has been, as much as I totally understand all the criticisms of Mike Norvell, I do think Florida State is a lot closer than they feel because these losses have been so just horrific.
The thing you say is, though, what do you point to in close losses? You kind of point to coaching.
Oh, I don't disagree, but I'm just saying it's not as hopeless as it might feel. That's my only point.
I disagree because they're not recruiting well enough where you're like, oh man, look at all these like stars. Like with Maryland, they've got a freshman quarterback who they like. They've got a top 5 recruit coming in next year, that defensive lineman from Baltimore. Like, you can make the case to be hopeful for the future. I don't know what the hopeful future is for Florida State at this point. We're going to wrap up here. Going to wrap up here in a minute. Got a comment here from Nick Flynn. And BYU just shut the door on the Bearcats.
Yeah, LJ Smith broke a run and scored. So,
which means if BYU wins that, they continue to be alone in second place in the Big 12 standings. And they have the win over Cincinnati. They have the win over Utah. I think, if they win, they're in. They finish with UCF next week, who nearly lost to Oklahoma State. They're terrible. BYU is going to beat Utah State or UCF. and make it to the Big 12 championship. If they lose, I still think there's a good shot that they're in because Utah lost. Utah lost today. They got 2. So, yeah, BYU's in a really, really good spot now. And because they're up by 12, assuming something crazy doesn't happen, that means they're going to cover the 2.5 points of the spread. And David, do you know what that means?
I think that means you had a perfect week, Chris.
It means I had a perfect week in our picks. And I have picked up 4 points on you to make this a ball game again as we get into the records with our picks. So, folks, please subscribe to the channel on wherever you listen to podcasts or on YouTube. If you're there, if you're watching on YouTube, please like the video. It helps a lot. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't already. It's been great to see those numbers go up and up and up. Cha says, if BYU loses at Texas Tech, presumably in the Big 12 championship, do they have any chance of making the playoff? It depends. Probably not. They're already on the outside looking in. If they are in the field going into conference championship weekend, then maybe, because then you make the same case that SMU did last year. Yeah. So we'll just have to see, frankly, with that. So it's going to be hard to tell. But we'll get into this a lot more on the Monday show. We will talk more about Lane Kiffin. We'll talk about rivalry coming up. We'll talk about some of the games, the scenarios, all kinds of stuff. Big show on Monday. Make sure you tune in to that. And we're going to wrap this one up here. David. Oh, actually, one more thing. I have to shout out your Arkansas Razorbacks. They have accomplished the unbelievable situation of being 2-9 on the season and having a positive point differential. They lost.
It's got to be getting close, right? Mizzou's coming up too.
They lost to Texas by 15, meaning they are still a +3 on the season. They are +3.
I turned that game off. I wasn't sure how much that final was. It was like a 20. It was like a 4 touchdown.
They scored. I think twice in the fourth quarter to cut it to get back into positive range. Because I didn't watch that. I missed. They were down 4. They were down 4. Gave up a scoop and score, and I was like, well, there goes that dream. And then I turned on the final score, and I was like, whoa, they did it. So Arkansas. Unbelievable. Everybody makes that joke about Nebraska. Arkansas is doing it way more impressively, I think. By the way, not only do they have a 43-point, not only do they have a 3-point positive point differential with a 2-9 record, they have a 43-point loss to Notre Dame in there.
Yeah. And they're doing all this in the SEC, Chris, which makes it inherently better than the Big Ten, I'm told. So, yeah.
Obviously. So not the biggest college football weekend, but we got a lot to get into. We'll get into it on the Monday show. Thank you, everybody, for listening live. Had a lot of fun. For David Ubben, I'm Chris Vannini. Thank you for listening to Bunch Formation. We will talk to you on Monday.
And even after dark, bring back the Turn of the Chain.